What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Hope you're all doing well today and welcome to Earsall MX. This is the 2023 layout of the real life track created by Louis44 in game, and it's another sand track, and I feel like we've been blessed with an abundance of sand tracks recently. The description of this track is no big ruts, no like terribly difficult sections. Just rollers, sand corners, and a hell of a lot of flow required to get around the track fast. He really emphasises momentum is needed to get around this. It's not just one track, so we've got what I'm guessing is the normal layout here, and then whether this track exists IRL or not, I'm not too sure, but there's a turn track over this side too. I'm just going to focus on the main track today because it looks fairly long. I mean, you do get a lot of speed going on sand tracks in general, so we'll see what lap times look like. But I just want to emphasise, like, this is a first track, and I think he's done a really good job on the environment too. All the way, even down to the point, the boy's he's gone to the extent of building like a whole damn highway, or whatever it's referred to in Europe. I mean, in the UK it's a motorway, in the US it's highway. I have no idea what the normal Europeans refer to it as. But yeah, just little things like this, especially for a first track release, which you don't see too often. So a lot of attention to detail, and I'm hoping that the track itself will live up to the environment. If you've been putting off buying that new MX gear, or you're just looking for some new daily MX related clothing, then head on over to fxrracing.com. Code MXPR_Lins15 at checkout will give you 15% off all motocross and lifestyle products. This code is applicable to the European, Swedish and Norwegian websites, not Canada or the USA. And whilst I've got your attention, you may as well subscribe to the channel. It's just one click of a button and it puts a big old smile on my face. Hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Right, am I allowed to get my excuses out of the way early? If I am riding particularly bad in this video, please let it be known and put it on the record before I even pull away that I am not the biggest fan of the KTMs in this game. I don't know why, they just always feel a little bit weird in terms of handling for me. I've gone completely stock in terms of suspension. The only thing that I have changed is the tyres, and I believe I've changed the swing arm length to 8 as well to hopefully make it a little bit more stable. So, let's see how this is going to go. I'm quite excited because I say time and time again that I do really enjoy sand tracks in this game. However, that is usually from kind of the more reputable track creators like JV, for example, who have really spent like a disgusting amount of time just perfecting their craft. So, Mr. Louis44, it's your time to shine. Let's see if you live up to that hype and those expectations. I did do half a lap around here just to make sure that it was video worthy, because I feel like there's been such an abundance of tracks released these days that I'm actually kind of spoiled for choice, so I'm kind of prioritizing, getting a bit tongue twisted there, some tracks over others. So I mean, if your track has made it to a video recently, then even more of a pat on the back to you. There's something in it that stood out from the rest. One thing that I'm really noticing a lot in these most recent track releases is the use of water. Because Red Rider released his kind of like water asset recently, like his plane. It looks really, really nice. Looks very professionally well done. And I think, again, it's just more reason as to why I think everyone should just share information with each other. It's like sharing track assets. There is someone on MXB Mods recently. I have to apologise, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but didn't expect to go off on this tangent this early on. They've been releasing like assets for tracks, like you released a cobblestone wall to kind of add some environment aesthetics. Like, in my mind, if I was to make a track that might be in like Wales or Scotland, somewhere like that, somewhere a little bit secluded, you might have some cobblestone walls dotted around here and there. Also released some of like the massive white bales that you get at some places, like the tall circular ones, rather than the typical like small square bales that you get on like the American tracks. So again, really cool, and it's nice to see people working on things that aren't directly involved in like track creating, so to speak. Like, they're not releasing a track as such, they're just creating tools to let everybody else make better tracks, which I think's a W. Because in my own experience, in my track creating process, if it wasn't for like the foundations and the work that people before me had put in, I never would have had a finished product. Like, there's so many resources out there that I found very helpful, and to have a place like MXB Mods where everything is fairly easy to access, big W. So for those guys who probably don't get as much love as they deserve, especially Red Rider, the amount of stuff that he puts out for the community and like really high quality stuff, give yourselves all a big pat on the back. Very, very, very much deserved. So, let's go back to this track now. It's actually nowhere near as long as I thought it would. So I think we are going to do both tracks in this video. It is incredibly fast, like super, super quick. I think there's some middle/inside lines that seem to be fairly OP. A lot of these outsides, I don't think they'll be too viable. I've got the road set to 1.2 right now, because I know a lot of times sand does deteriorate quicker than soft soil, but so far it seems to be holding up pretty good. I know we're only 2 laps in and you can see where my tyres have been, however it's not like deformed a disgusting amount. Please survive that. Or a little front end twitch going on there. I like this little switchback section, you can like double in. I think trying to keep your back wheel on the ground as much as possible around this track is 100% going to be the play. I think I've missed that inside every single time as well, which is a bit of an L on my behalf. Love that he's built up the outsides of that single there. A lot of people might be like, why on earth that's such a random thing? But it looks like he's dotted around high spots on the edges of the track everywhere. So you can't like scumbag it and go around the outside and try low line and everything, which is something that Vikeli, who created Sipu 2016, did. And I'm all for more people implementing it, 100%. It kind of sucks when people spend a lot of time and effort working on braking bumps or rollers, in this example being a sand track, and then maybe the timing gates are a little bit too forgiving and they extend just past the track's boundaries, and people will just exploit that. I mean, no issue with it in the testing at all. I mean, take whatever lines you want. But when it comes to online races, and especially if you're trying to like be behaved yourself and then someone just comes and blasts around the outside you literally off the track, it gets a little bit like annoying, because then you feel like, oh well, I can't beat them doing it normally, I guess I've got to join them, and then that off track line just becomes like the known main line for everybody that plays it. So there's lots of little attention to details things here that I think not a lot of people would notice first time round, but I'm very glad that he's put the effort into. He gives so Louis, who created the track, gives thanks to Callum in helping him through this. And as you're unaware, Callum, or God, I think his name's Callum 22, or Callum Designs, like 22 Designs, man of many names. He's released a lot of sand tracks himself. So if there was anyone that was going to help him build a sand track, especially a first track, I think Callum was the guy to go to and reach out towards. So big W's all the round. Please get this inside once. There we go. Oh, I don't even know if that inside's faster, where it's so rough going into it. No, maybe jump outside, cut back down to the inside could work there. But overall, there's no bumps on here that are like so harsh I don't know what to do over them, and they're not so mellow that it's just boring in a straight line. It's a good amount of rough, so you can double and triple your way through the straights if you want to. Alternatively, you can try and, I mean, in some scenarios on this track, it's actually not faster to double, but it's faster to try and wheelie everything and keep your back end on the ground. It's one of them things that when you ride sand enough, you'll kind of learn what to do in different scenarios. I mean, last video I done on, funnily enough, it was Callum's most recent track release. It was a GP of Finland. It starts with a V. Can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But that was kind of like trying to teach people how to ride sand, and every corner's different, you know. It all depends on how the bumps form, how tight the corner is, whether you can jump into it or if you have to check up and roll one. One thing that I think a lot of people don't realise on sand tracks, they think you've got to go a million miles an hour everywhere. Sometimes it's actually beneficial to check up a little bit and roll one bump to then double the next ones. Because, I mean, let's say you've got 5 bumps going into a corner. Do you want to go double, double, and single into the corner and it be really sharp? Or do you want to go single and then double, double and carry your momentum around the corner after doubling in? That's always the question. And it can be a tough one to answer sometimes, but with a lot of practice, it comes to fruition. I'm not sure if you can see, I feel like YouTube will do it quite dirty. Oh, actually, if I lean into the light, can you see like little white specks on my front fender here? This is a bike that 327 made for me, and it's got like a glitter effect on it. I think it looks really, really cool. Sometimes in certain lighting, it just looks like the bike's dirty, but in others, it actually does like glisten in the light. It's really, really nice. Of course, no longer having reshade, a bit of an L, so everything doesn't pop as much as I would like it to. Annoyingly, I think it's one of my favourite like set of graphics on one of my least favourite bikes. So big L on that behalf. Maybe remake it for me on the Yamaha and the Honda. Just throwing ideas out there. I don't think he watches my videos. I have no idea. But anyway, I suppose we should probably show this turn track some love as well, shouldn't we? To be honest, let's scoot over here. What on earth is the direction that this track goes? I have a feeling that it's going to be the opposite of this way, because that is a hella steep bump going into here. Yeah, this feels right. This does feel right. I did have someone mention to me on when I done a video on the dog pound, like the Lawrence Brothers compound, and there's a turn track on there, and I was wondering what direction you go, and someone was like, well, it's a turn track, you can go whichever way you want. It's like, in general, normal terms, yes, that's true. However, when there's timing gates and such involved in MX bikes, that is not always the case, because if you go the wrong way around the track, then your time's not going to count regardless. So that's all I have to say on that. So sometimes there is a right and a wrong way to go around turn tracks. I don't know if I'm going the right way at all right now. I feel some of these bump transitions feel a little bit steep on the backside, which makes me think that I am going the wrong way. But what we can do, because there are no rules in video games and you can play it however you want, I'm going to do it one way and then I'm going to spin around and do it the other one and see which one works better. How about that? Yeah, put that in your pipe, smoke it. I have no idea what this track looks like environment-wise, IRL. We've got lots and lots of like warehouses over here to the side. And I think someone, I looked on MXB mods when I was downloading this, and someone in the comments said that this is their like most ridden at track IRL for real life training and such. So I know there's people in the community that do ride this track, and as always, when it comes to replica tracks, especially these more kind of like localish type ones that aren't commonly known by everyone, like if you was to give me a track like Lommel, for example, like sand track, everyone knows Lommel, even if you aren't like a local. But when it comes to tracks like this, not so many people. So for the locals that ride this track IRL, let me know. Has Louis done a good job of replicating your home track? Are you very happy with the result? Is there anything that you would change? And one thing that I would like to start doing in these videos, obviously, because I sit here and I press record on YouTube and talk to myself while playing video games, for some reason my opinion holds some weight in this very niche gaming community that we have here. But I don't want it to be just about my opinion in these videos when we're kind of reviewing / going through tracks for the first time. I want some of you guys to get involved. So whether you've played it or not, whether you've played it before I've uploaded this video, whether you've seen this video and then gone and downloaded it and tried it yourself, or whether this video is enough to satisfy you in general, what is your opinion of the track overall? Do you like the environment? Do you like the textures? What about like the jumps and how the rollers flow from one to another? Give me your thoughts in the comments down below, and some constructive criticism if you have any as well. Because I feel like we're at the point now where we can start being nice civilized humans and give nice constructive feedbacks without being mean to each other, rather than this is poo and that's it. Because I'm quite happy with this one. Definitely on the easy side, like Luis has said in his post. This isn't meant to be the most challenging track in the world, and already this turn track feels better going this way than the other, so I've probably been doing it wrong for the last 3 laps. But for a first track, texture-wise, much better than my textures were, where he's gone through the effort of adding like tyre track norms to it, which are these little like darker bits that you see. So I believe how this works is he's got one base layer, like one base texture, and then he's gone through with like a brush pattern in Photoshop or whatever system or software he's using, and given the illusion of like tyre tracks going through it, which is something that I definitely should have done in mine, but with my very limited Photoshop knowledge at the time and like alpha channels and all this very computer techie stuff, which is probably very simple for a lot of people, but for me who was brand new to it, or not so much, it's probably very easy for them, but I find it very difficult. So to have this in first releases, again, very impressive. I like the textures that he's used. I feel like sometimes sand textures can be a little bit like too grainy, like they look like they've got a lot of noise to them, which first of all absolutely ruins the YouTube quality, because the bitrate just can't keep up and YouTube absolutely destroys it, which probably doesn't do it any favours when you guys are watching it. It probably doesn't look too good, so W in that regards. But then also, it's not too bright to the fact that it's burning my eyes. It's also not too dark to where you can't see any of the bumps and ruts. So nice middle ground. Happy with that. We've got the Kells and Cody James tree pack all the way around the track in general, to add a little bit of foliage, a little bit of greenery, and then like I mentioned in the intro of the video as well, he's even gone to the extent of adding like roads off in the distance as well, which is something that you can't even see from the track, and you probably would never notice it unless you went flying around anyway. But again, just goes to show that people are putting in a really good amount of detail recently. And my video 2 days ago about first track release quality going through the roof. What I mean by that is, if we was to rewind time even to say 2 years ago and look at people's first track releases compared to people's first track releases now, the average quality these days I think is far superior, and it is just a testament to the extra resources we have for track building these days, with just how knowledgeable people are on it, as well as the assets that are out there, like I mentioned earlier, with people releasing like objects for the community to use, Red Rider releasing water, for example, that I think I've seen on every single track release since he's done that, and W. It really is a W. So whilst I feel like in some regards Bikes is in a bit of a tough patch, more so from how the game handles, and obviously with like some game crashes that a lot of the pro guys have been having recently in competitions, I actually feel in other aspects it's stronger than it's ever been, track building being one of them. And you can log on to the MXB mods website or the MX Bike shop most days and have a brand new track to play, which I don't really think you can get on many other games. Sim does still have a good amount of tracks that get released, but I don't think it's quite as many as Bikes does these days. Obviously Track.ar hasn't quite got the player base yet to have all of the creative guys actually wanting to build stuff for it, and then when it comes to the console stuff like Supercross and Legends, I don't think it can compete. So MX Bikes right now, in terms of the track rating side of things, I really do think is leading the game, which I hope it stays that way. It makes my job a hell of a lot easier, especially times like this when I'm actually pre-recording. I've got to make something like 7 videos or in 3 days, something along those lines, because it's currently Wednesday for me when I'm recording this, Wednesday the 16th of August, and I am going away to visit my girlfriend from Saturday all the way through until Thursday. So yeah, I've got to have a good amount of videos pre-done. So yeah, we've just got to get ahead of things. So it makes my life a lot easier having all these tracks dropping at the same time. So thank you very much, Louis. I think you've done a great job for a first track here, and then also shout out to Callum for giving you some help as well. You've got a very good friend on board there for the type of track that you was wanting to create, and I would actually like to see some more, specifically like sand track related. I think you've got a good idea of how the rollers should feel. I'd like something. This is me being a bit biased here, of course. I would like something slightly more challenging next time. I know this one is for the for a first track as well. You don't want to go too difficult by any means, and this one is a really good one for the beginners and the intermediate guys to learn somewhat of a sand flow in general. Let's get something a bit more difficult next time. Like add some ruts in there, add some low and high points to the rollers as well. I think would be really interesting. And in terms of like visuals, I don't even know what else to suggest to you, because I think it looks really good regardless of what you've done on it. So that'll do it from me. So thank you very much to you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a comment down below in what you liked or what you think could be improved on this track for Louis to have a read through too. I think that'll be something really nice for us to start doing for each of these videos. And subscribe if you're new, and all that good stuff. Help me out in the algorithm by dropping a like. Probably said that in 10 seconds ago, but I'm just waffling at this point. And have a lovely rest of the day, whatever you're up to. I'll catch you boys in the next video. Peace.